Now we've just got a fish pond here that we're going to put some basic goldfish in. Now, providing that we don't overstock this pond, which this will clearly not be, these fish should be totally fine. I might arrange a bit of floating plant to break up the water surface. The other thing that really helps too, because I just want to make sure that the birds don't come and take these fish away, because as far as birds are concerned, if we've got fish like this that are ideal for the pond, but the vision to the bird is broken up, and even having this fountain running is things like that breaks up the bird's vision, that's going to help. Oh, there's floating plant right there. So there is floating plant. We'll just let that regrow, give the fish a little bit of protection. These fish are going in the pond now. It's really important that we don't feed them too much. So we want to just be looking at the bellies of the fish. So if you look at the gills, and then you've got a little bit of a belly, then it goes down to the tail, then we're very happy with the fish. So the way they are right now, they're really good, but going into winter, their metabolism tends to slow down. They do tend to lose a little bit of weight. So therefore, having them a little bit on the bigger side right before you're going into winter would be good, because you tend to keep the feeding quite low during winter. So the most important thing is just monitor the fish, make sure that they're not losing weight over time, and just be aware that during the colder months, they won't really tend to feed so well. So we definitely don't want to overpopulate this pond, and then we just need to keep a little bit of an eye out for birds. Now, if you were going to have an issue with birds, the other thing you could do is even temporarily run a couple of fishing lines across this little area here. That way, when the bird goes, they don't see the fishing line, and then the wings tend to get caught on the fishing line. The bird ends up unexpectedly in the drink, and the bird freaks out, and therefore doesn't tend to come back. So it tends to be like individual birds that are a problem. So if you can deter whatever birds you've got in the area, then often you don't have a problem. And it's very common in a pond like this that someone will not have a problem for a very, very long period of time and then suddenly have a problem, or vice versa. So that's just something to be aware of. So we want to really watch feeding. We want to really watch the belly of these fish. And if we do find the fish going missing, we have two options. One option is put much bigger fish in. Because of the size of this pond, I'm not going to recommend that as a suggestion. You need fish that are too big for the bird to take it, or we go for much smaller fish, mountain clouds, minnows, rosy barbs, things like that. So we'll whack these in and we'll see how we go. Now, because we're putting these fish into the pond going into winter, don't expect them to be very active and don't expect them to eat much. So you want to be just keeping an eye on their bellies. And if they start getting too skinny, you need to feed them a little bit, but knowing that going into winter, they don't tend to eat a lot anyway. But you do need to watch them, because as it starts to get warmer, then their metabolism is going to speed up, and then suddenly they're going to want food. And then once they start wanting food, that's when they'll start to interact with you, and they'll come up and start wanting food. But while the temperature's a bit colder, and while they don't really know you, you'll find that they just scatter and hide. So that behavior will change. Also, over time, as you get more, they tend to be less shy. But be very aware that the more you have, the more they need to be fed, and then the more maintenance needs to occur on the pond. We've just turned on this fountain, and this fountain is providing beautiful aeration for this particular pond. Now we've got the fish ready to go in, so they've been acclimatizing to that water, and there is lots and lots and lots of mosquito larvae in this water. Because this fountain previously wasn't on and there was no fish in this water, this became an absolute mosquito breeding ground. So now that the pond officially has fish, the mosquito larvae become a beautiful dinner for the fish. And the fact that the pump is now on means that we're probably not really going to get the mosquito larvae anymore. So this pond will now go through a little bit of a transition, now that it's going to be beautifully aerated, and now that we have fish, and hopefully no mosquitoes, and everyone will be happy. What a beautiful feature of any garden, especially a beautiful garden. Now, something I'm going to suggest we do is the inlet of this filter. I could actually quite easily attach a gravel tray filter. So right now, our main pond has got a couple of gravel tray filters running it. And I think a gravel tray filter in here would be a really good idea, because a gravel tray filter doesn't need lots of maintenance, but it does need some maintenance. And a gravel tray filter is really quite cheap considering how effective they are. So the main pond, the water's crystal clear and it's got fish in it and it's in full sun. This water is very clear, but it isn't crystal clear. So let's just do a test. If you ever want to do a test, easiest thing to do is grab a bucket out. It's pretty clear. It's pretty good. It's definitely not as clear as the main pond. So I reckon adding a gravel tray filter is going to help this pond in the long run. The little pond as well is a little bit acidic. Now, considering the filters have not been on that pond, I guess it's not surprising, because there's a fair bit of decomposing matter in the bottom of that pond. So the pH is a little bit on the acid side, and the KH is probably around 2. So therefore, I'm going to go and add some KH to that one as well. But I am going to ask that the little pond, the big pond, and the tank is monitored until the levels are correct. Now these fish look very happy, buzzing around in here. But because the pH and KH is a little bit on the low side, I'm just going to add a little bit of this in. And what I don't want to do is add too much. I just want a little bit of pH and KH. The other thing I should have said too is don't feed. So whenever you get new fish, what you don't want to do is feed them, because there's too much food in there. I'd really like that scooped out. So we really want to scoop this food out, and we don't want to feed fish. So we really, when we got new fish, we don't want to feed them for a few days, and we really want to scoop that food out, because we really don't want it rotting in there, because that food rotting in there is the best way to kill these fish, and that's way too much food for those fish. When we feed the fish, we really want the food all eaten in 30 seconds. And because these fish were just put in there now, they're really not going to be able to do that. And these fish are only going to need 1 or 2 of those pellets per fish. So this is way, way, way too much food. So that really has to be scooped out. Otherwise that'll rot, potentially kill these nice new fish.